Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Expendable Show. I'm your host, the Expendable. Today, in the car is Candace Owens. No, that's Sean. I was just kidding. Why Candace Owens is smart.
You gonna make me hurt you?
Yeah, generally. So, Shauna. So, as you know, because you've been babysitting my cats, that I've been in Ohio for the 4th of July visiting my dad and my family. And so when me and my family get together, it turns into a huge like think tank. We cover every scenario, what could happen, what's going to happen, and what clues led to that. Like it's intense. Like me and my dad, it was just me and him there for the first 2 days I was there. So like we just sat out in his garage and just talked for like 2 days. Yeah. And then my brother came yesterday, and then he joined in. Sometimes we all agree, sometimes we disagree, sometimes two out of the three agree, sometimes we just all three disagree with each other's theories. So that's how it works sometimes. So, did you have a good 4th of July, Shauna?
It was okay. I slept a lot.
You did. How do you
Yeah,
sleep
I
through
worked.
bombs bursting in air?
You said what?
How do you sleep through bombs bursting in air?
Trust me, very peacefully.
I'm going to tell you. So my dad, he's got 10 acres out in the middle of nowhere. Like he's literally it's a quarter of a mile like drive down a stone lane to get to his like 10 acres. And so everybody around him, they're all like pro military, pro police. They do nothing but the whole weekend it was just blowing stuff up all weekend. Like I thought Russia was getting ready to conquer the Ukraine, and that's what it sounded like. You could literally look in any direction and you saw fireworks going off. It was insane.
I cannot.
And I have a theory, but I'm pretty sure the owner of our company, I'm pretty sure I watched his fireworks too. I could see him.
I cannot.
He had the sweetest ones too.
It was probably nice out there. It rained here, so like people were doing fireworks, but it wasn't as great because it rained. So,
Adam Schiff just said that Kamala Harris would make a phenomenal president.
now she's going to make a phenomenal president. Before they didn't want women in office. Now she's going to be a phenomenal president.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to make her president. Anyway, so I don't get too off topic. We don't have the Sarge here to distract me today. So not yet anyway. He might pop up in there. Who knows? So when I should have made a video and I didn't to send you to show you what my hometown of Delphus looks like. But it's just a little town. But I think last I heard there was like 6,000 people in the town. But one thing that you notice when you drive around town is there's an American flag in the ground about every 3 feet. Like they go all out. 4th of July is the biggest holiday in Delphus. And so they've got banners up on every light pole of somebody who served from Delphus, like their picture, their name, like all over town. So like that's what a lot of people do. They'll just drive around and try to find their family like on these poles all over town. So like that's the kind of spirit that I went home to. And it's like it's generally like this. Like even in where our other companies at Van, they're the same way. They have the 4th of July is a big holiday for them too. The other area that I'm kind of from, Paulding, they're the same way. They do the same things. 4th of July is a big holiday. It's very you walk into a lot of patriotism there. There's a lot of former military that are from those areas. There's a lot of war stories that get talked about. You know, it's just a big military area. So that's when we go home. That's generally what happens. People talk about military things, and you know, the 4th of July is a good time to talk about those things. But it definitely was like because I took Yeti, and Yeti was like freaking out with the fireworks. She wasn't liking it.
I'm sure.
But she did better than I thought she was gonna do. I thought she was gonna run around that crazy, but she didn't. She just went and hid under the picnic table.
She said she ready to cover.
Right. So we pretty much covered every topic at my dad's, you know, from politics to Obama running the country to even to like the Anunnaki coming down and taking the Ark of the Covenant back that's underneath a tree in Iowa.
Here we go.
So we covered a lot of theories. That's my point. I'm just saying. That the Anunnaki could be coming. We don't know.
Here you go.
Okay, well, this is about the 4th of July, not the Anunnaki. I could do like a whole week-long series on the Anunnaki.
I know you could. Don't nobody want to hear that rant.
Oh yeah, they do.
No, they do not. No, they don't.
They found a placard in Iowa after this guy ripped this tree out of the ground. It was underneath. It was in the tree roots.
Oh my God!
And it had a bunch of Viking writing on it in Iowa.
Here we go. Here we go.
Come on now. It was, and they
we talk about.
Well, they covered it. They covered it on the the Treasure of Oak Island or whatever. It's on the History Channel.
Oh God!
They talked about it on there. So it was actually
a channel not many people watch. Okay, got you.
I watched the History Channel.
Yeah, you and like 1,000 people.
My brother, my dad. That's like 100% of the males in my family.
Oh my God.
That's a good success right there.
Anyway,
so when I'm looking at all these things from back home that I experienced, it just kind of made me think, because you know it took me 11 hours to drive home, so I have a lot of time to think and headbang to metal music, and try not to have people wreck into me, because I'm not wrecking into nobody. People will try to wreck into me. But it made me think about, you know, when I'm looking at those banners, like all these people that have gone to war over the history of these towns. And, you know, these guys are real life heroes. You know, some of them, you know, they fought, you know, and some of them didn't come home. Mm-hmm. You know, that we still have POWs on the POW list from World War II. Yeah. I think there's like 38,000 left, I think. That's a lot. There's a lot of soldiers we haven't brought home. And so it just made me think about things, and you know, how all those people that are on those banners fought for this country, so I can do these podcasts, so I can work an honest wage, and you know, they fought to protect the United States Constitution that gives us documentation of our God-given rights to stand on the soil that we stand on. So to me, that's a big deal. I don't take that for granted. I try to make the most out of my life every day. And you know, just like every American, you have your times where you struggle with things. But overall, I wake up every day and I go, how can I get the most out of my life today? Because there's a lot of people out there that died so I can stand here and do this today. Mm-hmm. And so I have a ton of respect for the military personnel. But I just feel like recently, like the Biden administration has put a huge cloud over our military. Like when in the debate, he didn't even remember the Afghanistan 13. Like what bigger sign of disrespect can you give some fallen soldiers that died because of his bad plan? I just
Yeah.
felt horrible for those families, and he
But
threw the one
honestly,
dad in jail.
what else does he not remember though? I mean, we're
I mean,
all
I get
questioning
it.
it.
I get it.
We're
Well,
all
okay,
questioning.
okay. So that's you make a good point. What all does he really remember? Well, that's the problem. We shouldn't have to say, well, Biden's got dementia. He just didn't remember. He's the president of the United States. We shouldn't have a dementia patient and use that as an excuse for his mistakes as president. If he can't do the job, he's got to go. He's got to go away. Whether or not it hurts Trump, helps Trump, whatever. You can't. The condition that man is in, it can't. For us as Americans, as a whole, Republican, Democrat, Socialist, Independent, it doesn't matter. He can't keep us safe. He
I
can't
think
keep.
that's the I think that's the thing that I try to stress to all of the people that talk to me about their standpoint on politics and why they just don't want Trump in office. And I mean, I get it. Everybody's entitled to feel the way that they feel. No one is taking that away from you. But I think we
Right.
have to got to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Look at the
Yeah.
state of the country. Look at the state. Like, I mean, you can just look at your own personal individual life right now. What American is not struggling in some shape or form?
Right.
Whether it be financially, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are living on the street. There's a lot of people that are having to do 2, 3 jobs to pay bills and really still
Right.
not even have anything left over to do anything else but just to do that. So, we have to really be honest. I know a lot of people feel a type of way about the Project 2025, and those are reasons for them deterring them from wanting to vote for Trump. And once again,
For the record, Trump does not even endorse Project 2025.
that is very much true. And
He
you
has
know me.
he's got Agenda 47. That's his thing, but they don't want to talk about Agenda 47. They want to talk about Project 2025 that he doesn't even endorse. Trump has his own plan. That's the 2025 the Heritage Foundation's plan that doesn't count for anything. It's just a book.
Well,
a lot of people don't
like
realize
I
that.
said, a lot of people feel like even though he said he's not endorsing it, that he's just lying. And if you purely want to believe him just off of his word, then you're crazy to do that. I've seen it all on the comments on social media. That's what I do. I dive in social media and see where the people's heads at. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people,
all they have to do is they have to go get on his website and look at Agenda 47. That's his plan, not Project 2025. Some of the stuff in Agenda 47 is contradictory to what is in Project 2025. So you can't, if you're reading that, like the LGBTQ stuff, Trump doesn't talk about that in Agenda 47. He says it's okay to do that.
I'm learning, like, just watching this presidential debate, that a lot of people do not know how to read and comprehend.
Oh, we have that problem. That's a serious problem in this country right now.
Definitely a lot of reading, non-reading and comprehension going on.
Yeah.
But I think, the thing is that everybody is in such an emotional state with where the country is right now, and they're just looking for somebody that's going to be the savior to get us out of where we're at. But I think it's lazy, and I think if you're at least going to be upset about the state of the country, then you should do your due diligence in learning,
read and comprehend,
learning, and I mean that on a broader spectrum than just because a lot of people only vote for the presidential election. Nobody votes prior to that, and it's like, honestly, those are the more important votes, not the president. Like, I think the whole thing is like, we may need to rewind, go back to history class, learn a few things, learn what each party does, who's actually responsible for what when it comes to leading the country. And I think that
Right.
a lot of people just look at as the president, like, oh, he's the one that's calling the shots. He's the one that should be making America where it needs to be so us as citizens can live. And it's just like, realistically speaking, he doesn't have a lot of say so in anything either, especially if the House votes no, then it's out of the question, and I think it's just a lot of those things like people
Right.
have to it's um a lot of people being misled, they following the trend. And also too, a lot of people I feel like it's now that there's so much social media and so much information being shared on social media, one thing that we
Right.
can all agree on is that the government's been lying to us for
For a
ages,
long time.
about
Yeah.
everything, not just one thing, about everything that we've learned and grown accustomed to in America has been lied and
Yeah.
misinformation at some point, some form or fashion. And I think one of the biggest things that we've learned from all of that is propaganda with the media. And, I think when we look at this and they, like you said, they don't want to endorse his other bill or whatever, but they're still pushing this Project 25, and it's pushing this negative agenda that, oh, Trump's endorsing it and this is what he wants to
Right.
do. He wants to become a dictator. And, they cut clips and they edit stuff and they make whatever his speech was look like this. Once again, Shauna is not an endorser of Trump. I'm not that. But I think
Allegedly.
once again, once
We'll see.
again, the as an American, if you're upset about the state of the country, you have to do your due diligence. And that's in everything. Looking at every party, you may come to realize, you know what, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm neither. All of those things are things that we have to consider in what you've grown up and known. We have to abandon those mindsets and start looking at things from an objective standpoint, like what's going to be good for not only me, my everyday life, the people around me, what's good for the country, instead of just, oh, well, we need to vote Democrat because I've always voted Democrat, or I need to vote Republican because I always voted Republican. Because if you don't agree with somebody's standpoint, why vote for them? And I just
Right.
think that America's got to wake up. You got to start doing that. Stop following the trend of what everybody else is saying. You feel like Trump is racist? Okay, go do the research. Let's find out why you feel like he's racist. And I don't mean looking at the 5-minute snips that they've edited to put on social media. I mean, actually go and do your research. What has he been involved in? And I mean that past what we see as him being a presidential elect. Like, I'm talking about go
Right.
back to his history of like looking at what he's had his hands in. We know Trump's always been a businessman. What has he had his hands in that, business wise? Is it something that's ever been beneficial for the Black community? Things like that. Like, you need to do that. The same thing with Biden. Like, let's go back and look at his political history. What was he involved in? What type of bills did he set prior to him being a VP and a president? Like, before he was
Are you
this
sure? Are
person
you
we're
sure you
talking
want to
about.
have people do that? Joe
I
Biden
mean,
has
I
a
think they
very
should.
long, sketchy history.
He does.
Say that.
Very much so.
If you take
Very
out
much
if you
so.
take out his if you take out his character flawed comments about the minority groups, if you let's forget he set those. If you just look at the things that he's highlighted, the bills that he's presented in his 47 years, you'll be like, wow, this dude's just like Hillary Clinton. All he cares about is war. He
Yeah.
backed every war bill. Everything that goes to blowing something up, Biden backed it, which I
Yeah.
highlighted in my first book, From the Mouth, in my research on Joe Biden. He's a warmonger. He makes it's clear, now, because nobody really paid attention to Joe Biden before. He was just a career politician, kind of like Maxine Waters, and everybody's just like, well, eventually this turd will retire, and then we won't have to deal with him no more. But then now Joe Biden's president, so now we have to go, whoa, what is this guy about? Obama brought him in because he was supposed to be the funny guy, the old man with the
Right.
jokes. And so now he's president. So now we have to go, okay, what is he about? And you got to go back and dig through and go, what has this guy done? Oh, he's done war. That's what Joe Biden does, is war. And so it didn't surprise me at all after I read about him that the first thing he did was start getting his hands in all these wars going on, because that's what Joe Biden does.
Definitely.
He's a war guy. He might as well be a Bush.
That would make
probably
sense.
related to the Bushes.
That would make, he probably has a connection in there somewhere we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, he's got to be a Bush.
I definitely agree.
But to get back to the military, like the dark cloud, like, so they came up short in recruiting by over 43,000 in the arms, in all the branches. That's a lot of soldiers that we don't have. And then that's not even counting the, what was it, 8,000 that we lost that we had to get rid of because they wouldn't take the COVID vaccine. So there's over 50, we're short over 50,000 troops. And in a time when Biden's putting us in wars, we can't be short troops. And so when you look at, I can't tell you one person that I know that's in the military right now. And that's not normal in my life. I've been able to say, I've got this cousin or this cousin that's in this. I can't tell you anybody.
All the people I know are retired at this point. They've done
right.
20, 30
it's the generation before
years.
the generation.
You know, the 20, 30 plus years of being in the military, they got they're done. They're getting their benefits now. So,
but when you think about it, when you look at that group that's now retiring out now, they were the 1991 Gulf War vets for the most part. And that was when our patriotism in our country was at its peak. Everybody in America was backing those boys over there. Like they made baseball cards of the Gulf War people. Like, that's how big America was excited to go over there and take a swing at Saddam Hussein. The whole country was on board. We wanted it. Go over there, boys, and whoop them. That was the attitude of the people in for that war. And then Bush had with Norman Schwarzkopf, they had the perfect plan, the perfect leadership to get it done, and they got it done in 100 hours. Conquered. See ya, Saddam. Come on back next time.
I cannot.
But that's how it happened. It was a flawless war. And we went over there and took care of business with the right people. We had the right mindset as American people. And look how efficient we can be when we're all on the same team. We're dangerous. And that's the type of stuff that the world was scared of back then. They're like, don't mess with America. They will conquer you in 100 hours.
Social media kind of messed that up because it shows how stupid Americans is. So,
right. So, I mean, but in reality, you know, the division in the country has not been fixed. I think the gap's gotten even wider.
I think it's gotten even worse, honestly.
Yeah.
If you can be
right. I do too.
100% honest. I feel like it's gotten worse.
And so when you're a kid, if you're an 18-year-old high school kid right now and you're going, wow, we've got this potential World War III with Russia going on. China's always threatening Taiwan. And then now we got this like Israel terrorist group war going on. So if you're an 18-year-old, you're going, wow, if I enlist right now, I'm probably walking into a bad war.
Yeah.
And my president don't even remember that I died. What glory is there? There isn't. They've taken the glory away from being a soldier.
Well, see, that's the thing too. Like, it's why people were already upset when 9/11 happened and all the guys had to be sent over to war. Then my brother was sent over there. He went to every worst location during that entire war. He's been to every worst location. So I know what it did to those guys. I know what it did to the families. And it's like you think about that and think about the trauma that, like, this happened over 10 years ago. My brother is still having, issues with his PTSD. Like, he can't even eat barbecue because it triggers like smelling human flesh burning. You know what I'm saying? So It's like,
yeah,
those things are still very prominent. And then you're like, oh, well, we're going to war again. And it's just like, but we're at a state where the people don't trust the government. Like, we don't trust you. And
No.
it's for good reason, good, honest reason. And it's also, too, it's just like, once again, social media plays a really, really big play into it. And so much information. This is why I feel like part of the reason why they're trying to ban TikTok, because TikTok reaches the younger crowd, and the younger crowd are the ones that you're trying
Quickly.
to recruit to go into the
Right.
military. And it's like, well, you're taxing us like 5 times before we get income, and then tell us that we're not making enough to be able to afford a house. But then you still
Right.
like want us to have this ideology that we're going to live the American dream when literally everybody is struggling. Like,
Right.
and
It's
you
not
want me to
adding up, is
go?
it? All this
It's
isn't
like
adding up.
you want me to go and fight for this country, fight and be proud to be an American, when you don't even care about us. If we're going to be honest with it, like, there's so many things that people are waking up, like their consciousness is waking up, and you're seeing and
Right.
understanding. And it's just like, you want me to be a proud American and to be here and to risk my life to say, oh, I'm doing this to protect my people and my country.
Right.
It's just not enough. It's not enough. And then on
Then
top
you
of
think
it, it's
about,
just,
I thought during the debate, Trump made one really, really, really good point. And he said, Joe, you didn't fire not one person since you've been in office. Out of all mistakes you've made, not one person has been fired. And I thought about it, and I was like, that's a problem. You can't have 13 soldiers die in Afghanistan, get abandoned, and get left on a horrible execution of a plan, and nobody get fired. I think Trump fired like 40 people when he was president. Biden has yet to fire anybody. That just shows like he doesn't believe in accountability, or the good old boy system is bigger than Biden, which is probably the case. Biden's just there.
definitely.
But
He's just there.
nobody's being held accountable for the mistakes right now, and that's translating down to people in a negative way.
When
Because
you see it, go ahead.
I mean, if my president's not being held accountable, or his generals are not being held accountable, or his Department of Defense, his DOD people are not, the Department of Justice isn't, Fauci's not, then why do I got to be held accountable? Why can't I just go rogue and do whatever I want? I don't have to worry about accountability. Nobody else is accountable. But I'm a domestic terrorist, I guess. So I guess I will be held accountable.
You definitely go on that list. Definitely.
I already know. They hack into my stuff.
Grade A threat.
I'm still shadow banned on everything. TikTok won't even allow me to advertise any of my TikToks on there. I'm banned from advertising my TikToks for life.
Wow.
I attempted to advertise one video. That's it. One.
That's funny.
I got a lifetime ban. I can still make videos, but they cap me off at like 250. If you look at my videos, they're always like in the
share your
200s.
videos. That's all you gotta do.
Huh?
Is get people to share your videos. Everybody just have
Share
to
them
repost for you. Yeah, we just have to get your followers.
Well, that's why I'm gonna hire you to do it. But so if here's another thing to think about when it comes to the military. So we covered if you're going into the military. Well, the cat's just broke something. But if you're going into the military and you're probably going to be if you're 18 years old, and I don't want to say this to scare all the kids going in, but you potentially could be walking into a suicide mission because you've got all these conflicts getting ready to pop off, and some of them are already going. So, we have these conflicts. You have to be prepared to deal with those with bad leadership. Now, let's talk about Israel and Hamas. When you look at Israel and Hamas, when our soldiers get deployed, they fight side by side with Israel. Right?
Yeah.
That's a fact. Just about every soldier you've ever talked to that's been deployed will say, I have fought beside somebody from Israel. So that on the battlefield, Israel is part of the brotherhood. And so now you have a president who's semi backing the group that's trying to kill them. And so that's a problem, because he wants to say, well, we're providing for everyone. Well, George Soros does that too, but he is a bad guy. So you're a bad guy. So what Biden does, well, I'm giving to the Palestinians. Well, the ruling class of the Palestinians is Hamas. So if you're giving aid to the Palestinians, you're really giving it to Hamas. And then anything going to Palestine, Hamas is taking it anyway. They're hijacking all the transports. So the Palestinians aren't even really getting the aid. And Biden keeps sending it. So that's an issue. If you're a soldier, you're not gonna like that.
I think
Biden basically sends the message that if you join my military, I will abandon you, and I will betray our allies. That's basically the message. And that's a bad message. So now my question is what do we do? How do you fix this problem? Let's say Joe Biden gets elected for another 4 years and we got to deal with it. How can we fix this with Biden in office? You fix this problem the same way you fix the at-risk communities. You strengthen the family value system. Because if we got to stop having absent, the fathers of kids. They got to be involved. You can't not have them, because mom can't be dad.
Well, I think that's not even just the fathers. I think that we have to go back to the original way. Like, it wasn't just a mom and a dad raising their kids. It was you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just your parents. You had, in Black households, you had your aunts and your uncles, your grandparents. In other areas, it was, we see this kid, Tommy, he stays on my street. He doesn't need to walk by himself home. Let me give Tommy a ride home because I know his mom works late. Like, it has to get back to the community all together, helping each other, working alongside each other. Like, I think the thing is that everybody wants to feel included. Everybody wants to be seen. And in what this has created is this division. Now everybody has to have a label. Everybody is their own subgroup of people. And it's just like, we've got to get away from that. Right. We're all human. Whatever you want to identify as. Absolutely.
They got to break up.
Sure.
They got to break up the modern day segregation that they've created.
Definitely. Because that's definitely what it is.
Good.
Yeah, you see that. Like, even with this, I'm a cis woman and I'm a cis man. That's a man. He's a man. She's a woman. It shouldn't have to be.
Other groups can't be part of that. So they're self-isolating themselves, and it's counterproductive. They counterproduct their own movements.
And it's just like, I think, because, I work at Starbucks, so I see a lot of this, and using the correct pronouns and everything like that. I think everybody is great. I think everybody deserves love and to live life the way that they should, and you shouldn't be judged for it. But also at the same time, I also think I shouldn't have to feed into your personal decision for life. Like, I think you should be able to be whoever you want to be, but I shouldn't have to feed into it. Like, if I identify you as a man because physically that's what you look like, but you may go with the pronoun of you're a she and they. Okay, cool. That's great. I don't think I should be attacked for that because I recognize you as being a man. I think that whatever you choose to be in life is totally up to you, but I shouldn't have to be penalized for it because I'm not feeding into that, whatever you choose to be. I can
Right, I
respect it, but that
agree.
doesn't mean I have to live the same life as well. And I think, we all have to get past the point. Like I said, I think it's just created this culture of everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be heard. And it's just like, we see you, but let's unify. Why do you have to be your group of people and I got to be my group of people? Why can't we all just be one big group going in to fight the same common enemy, which is the government right now? We're all suffering and
Yep.
struggling because of the government and its greed. So why does it have to be your sorrows or need to be put in front of mine? We're both leading the same fight, having the same fight right now. And yeah, so I agree. We all need to come together and start working together, stop fighting each other. I think that's defeats the
I
purpose.
I
I don't think it
still I
helps.
still believe I still believe that that we have to do everything that we can. Like moms, y'all got to do everything you can to keep a father in these kids' lives. Fathers, we got to do everything we can to stay active in our kids' lives because grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, mom, yeah, that's great to have the community, because I grew up like that too, where the community babysat me. And we all knew where we were all at all the time. Our parents all knew because the community babysat all the kids. We didn't have these problems. But the issue is if we push the envelope too far, I knew that I had to face the wrath. And grandma and grandpa and my aunts and uncles and my mom wasn't giving me the wrath. My dad was. And that was the only
Oh
thing I
yeah.
feared. And so I think it's highly important that we advocate more. And that's, it was a coincidence to call you Candace Owens, but she's big on that, to bring that structure back into especially the Black communities, because that's where the most absentee is at.
I mean, we've
So
had those conversations, how I feel about that.
I think it's highly important. I think you eliminate a lot of problems. For one, you strengthen the male child. You strengthen the male child. You keep the testosterone in the house, and he won't go look for it somewhere else. And it's
Definitely.
the same thing. It's the same thing in all ethnic groups, all races. We all. If you take my dad out of my life, I'm gonna go find it somewhere else, and it's probably gonna be the local drug dealer or the meth maker, or it's gonna be somebody. I'm gonna find it somewhere. So it applies to everybody. And so I think we have to do everything that we can to strengthen the role, of the fathers. I think we need to rally behind these fathers. Yeah, there's a lot of bad dads out there, but there's a lot of good dads out there too, and those are the ones we need to hype up and keep them in the system. And we need to increase the statistics of active fatherhood over the next few years. And I think for one, we'll get rid of a lot of crime. That'll automatically happen. For two, we will have soldiers ready to be soldiers.
Yeah. That's
But I
that's
can't. When you look at these high school kids now, I couldn't pick a soldier out of them. There ain't no way. I look at these
these
kids. Go,
kids
not one of these kids
are
is a
very
soldier.
pampered, spoiled, whatever term
Right.
you want to use it, all of it.
Like,
It's
what do you mean? I can't take
interesting,
my
but
phone with me to
it's just
boot
like
camp?
you have to understand that these kids haven't really been raised. Like, and I think that's a major difference in what we see. Like, our parents actively raised us. I was fortunate
Right.
enough to be one of the few Black kids who had both parents in their households. But
Right.
outside of that, my parents
And
raised
you're,
me. They talked to me.
and,
They
and
were
you're a
active
perfect
in my
angel.
life about what I had going on. Like, I would come home from school, like even in high school, like this wasn't just when I was in elementary school or middle school. It was through all major points. Like, even in college, when I would come home, my parents asking me, they're talking to me about my mental state. They're talking to me about, am I being able to grasp the concepts at school? Like, how am I struggling
Right.
in a class? Like, it was things like that. We talked about things. They actually raised me
Whoa,
as a
whoa,
parent,
whoa,
being involved in your
whoa.
child's life.
Now you're getting close to being in Harrison Butker territory here, where the parents are too active in the kids' lives. You're going to get canceled
No, there's no
by
such
the
thing.
Democrats.
There's no such thing as that. I think my thing is that my parents, the way that I was raised, my parents were involved in my life. They knew all of my friends. They knew all of
Right. As they should. Well, Shauna must have
or
hit
was
a
to
dead
be able
spot.
to
Oh, there she
get in
is.
contact with somebody. Oh yeah, there it goes. Can you know? Okay. So it was
Kind
for a time when my parents was. And on top of that, they knew what was going on in my life. Friends were an argument. They knew if I was no friends with, or they were I was at sports and stuff. Everything I did, and is you know what's going on your life. As realistically speaking, your kids have a life outside when they're not at the house. They go all separate life. They've got friends. They've got what do you can a parent right now to did a poll to be like what your kids go with their
No, you can't. The
that
parents,
they might
the parents don't know who your kids are because they're just a bunch of names on an Xbox friends list. You don't know who they're
exactly
associating
like
with
there's like you see
on a
this all
day-to-day
the time.
basis.
They're like you see it all the time where parents are like, "That's not my child. My child would never do that. My child would never do that." And
Right.
then you see photos of their children in there slapping teachers in the classroom, and it's just like, but
Right.
this is a child that you swore up and down would never do anything like that. And then I think that's one thing. Like as a parent, you have to acknowledge that your kids are different people
Yeah.
when they're not
We
around
don't,
you, and that's just
they,
honest.
yeah, parents don't know their kids anymore because the kids put on
They don't.
a mask to keep the parents away from them. Just let me play my game. I'll annoy you if you don't let me play my game. So the parents aren't really learning their kids anymore.
Exactly. They're not. It's sad. Like, like when I Christmas time, my dad knew everything that I wanted for Christmas because we talked about stuff. And it wasn't like, "Oh, what do you want for Christmas?" It was, "Oh, dad, like I just seen this really cool bike and I would love one like that." And just interacting with me as a parent and as the child, knowing who I am and what I liked, what I was interested in. My dad, when I was a kid, I loved to read. He could tell you who my favorite authors were. Like that's just what my
Right.
parents did. They were very involved in everything that I did. So for me, it's like, you sit around and you see these parents and like they're always claiming like, "Oh, I take care of my children." You take care of them, but you're not raising them. And that's the big difference. So it's
Right.
got to be a lot of that when you're thinking about, even if the single moms, like, yes, unfortunately not everybody has a two-parent household, and there's circumstances that has led up to it not being that way. And I just think,
Right.
it's no excuse. You still have to be present. You still have to know what type of information and knowledge your kids are retaining,
Right.
the things that they're around all the time, because like realistically speaking, your kids are in school 8 hours out of the day, and when they get
Right.
home with you, how many like hours are you talking to them and talking about their interests? It's
Right.
not a lot
No,
of time because you got
they got a bunch of
it's not a lot of time.
homework to do, so you just shove them in their room.
Exactly. You got a homework to
So
do. And then now kids, they're not teaching them anything. They're just making them retain information so they can get their bonuses in the school systems.
so so
So
what about so what so what about this? So let's say if we raise the bar out of all the bars in this country that I feel like are lowered, that are too low for what America's standards should be, I think there's one bar we could raise that if we are successful, we'll raise all the bars at the same time. And that's
mhm.
character. I think if we get back into the homes, make the homes a focus, provide more resources to the home of all homes, in America, I think we can increase the bar of character. And if we increase the bar of character, we'll increase the bar of discipline, and we'll increase the bar of education, and we'll all these standards will go up because we're below world average on most things. And it's because our character is so bad. And I think if we go after the structure of the home, make it harder for people to get divorced. For one, they need to provide more conciliation options before a judge will grant a divorce. Now there has to be extreme measures
And
to
that's across the board,
divorces
because
to happen
some
across the
states
board.
are
Fact,
very
yeah,
strict. Some states are very strict about it, and then others are not. Like in
right,
Georgia, it's kind of hard to get a divorce, especially when you have younger children in the household. Most judges are not just
right,
going to approve a divorce. Like it's very hard to get one when you have children involved. So,
right.
but yeah, across the board, that needs to be something that happens.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. In Georgia, there's two different ways to get divorced. There's either contested or a non-contested. And if it's non-contested, it's easy. You can get it done in one day if both parties are on board. But if it's contested, it could be drawn out for several years, and it could cost a lot of money. And the judge is going to try to figure out how to save it,
Yeah.
because we live in the Bible Belt, and that's just how things go. In Ohio, it's simple. It's simple. The judge is he's going to figure out how to get this over as fast as possible. That's how they do it in Ohio. It's like herding cattle. Let's hurry up and get these done. Divorce, 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 done. I'm going home. I got some cocaine to do. But that's how I think that's the solution. I think we really attack the morality of the home. I think Candace Owens is onto something. I think some of these other groups are onto something.
I mean, it's
But
a focal point.
it has to be an honest effort, though. It can't just be for show. If it's for show, we're not going to do anything. We're just moving money around to make it look like it's going here, but really it's not. And it has to be a good faith effort to increase the way that we parent, the way that we take care of each other as husbands and wives and all that. I mean, if you were, just like I said last time, if you even think that there possibly could be an exit to your marriage before you go into the marriage, you've already failed. There shouldn't be an exit to a marriage. You shouldn't go into a marriage going, well, if this doesn't work, I'll just do this.
Yeah, that definitely shouldn't be an option for you, honestly.
Right. If you're not ready to
You're
be
already
with
thinking,
that person
oh well,
forever,
if it doesn't work, then I can
get
just get a
married.
divorce.
Yeah, that's their out. We've turned the
thing.
legal system into an out of their marital responsibility.
Definitely.
So it's wrong. If they might as well just get rid of marriage. If they're going to do it that way, let's just get rid of marriage, and we'll just make everything a legal partnership, and everybody will just sign contracts. Here's my stuff. Here's your stuff. Whenever you finally get done with me, I'll take this stuff that's on this list and take your stuff that's on your list. Might as well just get rid of marriage, because they treat it like it's a nothing.
We can't get rid of marriage. You sound like the people that want to get rid of gender. Don't do that. You can't get rid of marriage.
If we just make one gender, we won't have to fight over genders. Blurl, boy, girl. I mixed them together. Blurl, one gender. Everybody's a blurl.
That's hilarious.
That's how fast I came up with that. I just solved the world's problems with one quick word. Blurl.
Oh my God. I cannot. I mean, it's definitely going to take some work, but I was looking at like videos on Instagram, and it was like people sharing like old videos from like the 90s and the 80s for like 4th of July picnics and different stuff, like just showing like home videos basically, that just kind of got lost in storage or whatever. But I thought it was very funny because or I found it to be interesting because you could just see the dynamic in the home, like families, like people actually enjoy being around each other and making time
Yeah,
to spend
the
time with each
parties
other.
were huge.
And I think, you have to think about like part of the reason why the American home struggles so much is because people don't have time for it. Like you
Yeah,
genuinely just don't have time for it. Like you're having to work all the time because you got to afford everything, or you're building these extreme over the top expectations for, you know we see it so much now. Oh, he's got to make over $100,000 for me to want to date him. Like these are just unrealistic expectations for life. So I think that's a huge part of it
yeah.
too. Like in order to establish the
We've made
American home again,
everything superficial.
gotta be realistic. Yeah, everything's got to be realistic again, and people have got to stop thinking
Yeah,
that it's a quick
we've
solution
lost
because
our
it isn't.
we've lost our we've lost our in dating. We've lost our ability to be genuine. We're just not genuine anymore. Everyone is facade. We have a facade that we show all the time, and you don't see
Mhm.
the genuineness of your partner until several months down the road when the honeymoon wears off, and then you're like, wow, I'm with a monster, or I'm with something this isn't what was advertised to me. So I think we need to go back because
I don't think
we
people
live in a
do talk
TikTok
about.
world where you're
I
just
don't.
everybody's an actor.
But see, this goes back to my point. Like, as a parent, you should be talking to your children about this. Like, my mom talked to me so much all the time. Like, as a woman, and me being a young girl at the time to now being an adult myself who have children, like she talked to me about like, what do you look for when you want to date somebody? Like what are your okays and not okays, like things like that. Like my mom talked to me about this. She shared personal experiences with me. So, things, even things between her and my dad, things that she was like, if I would have known this, I would have never done this, this, and that. And I think it's just a big thing. Like parents just don't talk to their kids anymore. Moms are not
Right.
talking to their daughters and their sons about how somebody should be treating you. Like, and it goes back to like the dads are not in the house to show you how mom is being treated. So this is how you should be treated. And on the end of the
Right.
sons, like I'm treating your mom like this. Every woman you meet is going to tell you that their man is treating their wife
Oh, you're glitching out again, Shauna. All right. Hold on. I'm going to mute you
We can
until
talk
you
all
get
day long
feel
about.
better. Hold on. You're back on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go
No.
ahead. Yeah.
I think we can go back and forth all day on what we think should be done, but at the end of the day, we just have to like people are too emotionally invested in other people's lives. And I think we have to start looking
Mm-hmm.
at what we want as an individual, as an adult, what we see around us, and that is applied in everything. It applies to the government. It applies to how we want our children to be raised in America, like what we set the standard for. Like we're the citizens, and at the end of the day, everything that we are living in has become a choice. What we have created, so we've got to choose wisely, and that's going to take conversations, us being honest with ourselves, honest with the people around us. Like, America loves to sweep stuff under the rug. You love to hear a lot of people say racism is not happening. That was 600 years ago. Why are we still harboring on these things? Well, statistically, when we look at everything, it's still a lot of systematic racism going on right now. So to say that it's not here is very ignorant, but sure. I think it's just like a lot of honesty that has to happen. We have to be honest. Joe did a shit job of being president for these last 4 years. And that's just honest. As much as we thought he was going to do America good, he's done us shit. So, and we also have to be honest at the fact that there were a lot of bad points with Trump, but one thing about it, none of us was struggling the way that we're struggling now under Joe's administration. So it's just a lot of honesty that you have to have with these conversations. You can't sit here, like, we have to realize that two things can be true. We could have said Joe may have had good intentions, but he did a very poor job of displaying those. So
I
two
saw
things
I
can be
saw a lady on CNN today said, "I will vote for Joe Biden even if he's in a casket."
mm-hmm.
That's part of the problem.
Oh, most definitely.
We're talking about
But
the
that
leader. The leader of our country cannot be in a casket and get a vote. That's ignorant. That's how ignorant it is. If this
but
was
that's because,
opposite
like I
and
said,
if this was Trump, I'm on the same page. Let's get him out of there. We can't have, he's compromised his mental condition. That would be compromising to our national security, to my safety, my grandkids' safety, everyone I care about safety. Can't have it.
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's just, it's a lot of conversations people are going to have with themselves, with other people. It's just it's a lot of tough things, a lot of
Yeah.
self-realization going on that a
Yeah,
lot of
white
people don't
liberals.
want to do. I think it's
Did I
I
say that
like
out
me
loud?
personally, I'm like, I'm always gonna I prefer somebody tell you what they want, even in the sense of a racist. If he's like, you know what, I just don't want these black people here. I don't want them in this area. I want it to stay as white as it is. I don't like that they want to open up the community for everybody. Okay, cool. We know where you stand. Great. You're not the problem. The problem is all these people that are hoping somebody's going to come in and save us. That like the lady who's like, I'm voting for him regardless. I don't care how bad of a job he's done these last 40 years. I'm voting for him. Okay, cool. If that's what you feel is best for the country, we've seen what he can do in these last 4 years. Not a fucking thing. But you
Yeah.
want to vote for him? Sure.
It's elderly abuse, and there's no other way to look at it. Any liberals that I run into that are like, I'm still voting for Joe Biden, I'm like completely like going off. I'm like, y'all
Elderly
are the
abuse,
problem. You get the fuck out
please.
of the country. You're all stupid. If you're gonna vote for Joe Biden after that debate, stuff that we've all seen on the news, but CNN edits it to clip. They've been clipping him out for like the last 2 years, so that way nobody sees it. But conservative media, we've been seeing this the whole time, so we've known this is going on.
I would hate to be the editor for those videos.
And
I'd be so
they're just going
pissed.
on TV going, this only happened one time. Let's stand by our man. Nope, this hasn't been happening just one time. This has been happening lots of times.
Really, for like
We
the
all need
last
to
the last
like
half of
watch the
his
clip.
presidency, it's just been bad, honestly.
Yeah, he's not getting nothing right. It's because he doesn't have the full comprehension of what he's doing, and he's a bullhead, so he's not fully following the plan. He's like, I'm Joe Biden. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'll do whatever I want.
Well, Joe,
You want to go
I
behind
think
the
it's about time for
barn?
you to sit at home, have his morning cup of
Yeah.
coffee, and
He needs
go
to get
play
up
with
on
the
his
grandkids.
Rehoboth beach, go ride his bikes with Hunter, and go call it a day. Call it a career.
Dr. Jill, she's like a retired, y'all should just be living the retired life now, not really doing this and doing
Dr.
presidential
Jill's like
tours.
Dr. Kevorkian. Dr. Jill's Dr. Kevorkian. I don't know who's a worse person to humanity, Jill Biden or Anthony Fauci.
Oh my God, I cannot. There you go.
I'm just saying, they keep finding evidence on Fauci, like all these like voicemails and stuff they keep finding of his. The last one was he left a voicemail that said, "Oh yeah, that 6-foot thing for the social distancing, I just made that shit up."
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna be honest with
Everything
you.
Fauci told us was a lie.
I'm just be honest
They
with
keep
you.
they keep
I've
finding it.
always been like that. Outside of everything, men lie. I don't like people up in my personal space. I'd be like, you need to be like at least arm lengths away, and that's just that was prior to COVID. I hate germs. Like, why are you so close? I don't think me and you should be breathing the same air. Like, it's just too much. Like, so COVID just really showed you like people don't want to wash their hands. I think it just really showed how disgusting people were, honestly. Because why are you not washing your hands after going to the bathroom or like the stuff like I guess maybe too because I worked retail and I see all of the behind the scenes stuff. So I know how nasty products are coming into the store before they hit shelves. So it's just like you should be washing everything. Washing your hands. You should wipe your car out after you've been grocery shopping. Like all these things should be happening anyways outside of COVID. This should have been a
Wait a
routine
minute.
anyway.
Wait a minute. You don't wash your hands after you go to the bathroom at Starbucks and make coffee.
Yes, you do. We're so anytime we take off our apron or we're about to touch a different surface outside of the bar, you're supposed to wash your hands before you get back on. Like that's the rule.
I don't think that's part of the green agenda. You guys are using chemicals that are
and
contaminating
and
the earth.
just to let everybody know, cross contamination is very easily done. So you should be washing your hands after everything when you're in the kitchen. Just saying. That's why people get sick.
Yeah, you get peanut oil on you. If you're allergic to peanuts, you're gonna swell up, and then you're gonna need a $2,500 EpiPen.
Well, no, it's not
Oh,
no
here we
daggone
go. I just did
$25. We wish
something.
the EpiPen was $25. The EpiPen is like $3,000.
I said 2,500.
Oh yeah, that's about accurate for an EpiPen right now. That's crazy that they're
It's the
charging
greatest
this much.
weightlifting pre-workout ever. If I
That's
could afford
ridiculous.
EpiPens, I would take them every morning before the gym.
I'm so Lord, here you go. Oh man. Uh, but okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's start having these conversations with ourselves. Let's be honest. What could we be doing better as Americans in holding ourselves accountable to start making this, like, I know everybody hates the make America great again because it's so associated with Trump, and honestly for black people it really brought a trauma response, so I can understand how a lot of people feel very negative about that phrase. But on an end, like, getting back to a point where every community isn't suffering and like having hardships. Like every community is having hardships. And all these freaking taxes that we pay, we should not be having these hardships. So what can we be? Let's have this conversation for you guys this week. And we're gonna tap back in on this on Wednesday. Like, what conversations did you have with yourself this week? Like, what can we be doing better, holding ourselves accountable more as citizens that pay taxes, that live here, that want to be here in the country? What can we be doing better to make this place better for all of us again?
Vote for Trump.
There you go. I'm not saying that, but let's start brainstorming some ideas.
I'm just gonna listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene more.
Oh
Somebody
my
just
God.
thumbs down me. Super libtards. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all day, every day.
Here you go.
She's gonna go power clean all day with the EpiPen.
I don't even.
But for real, thumbs down person.
For her.
It's time to get real about stuff because your presidential candidate is a problem. It's an international problem. If you go look at Europe, every single European leader has asked for him to resign. You better check your international stats. He's a catastrophe for the world. If y'all still keep voting for this dude, you're just as ignorant as he is. All right, so that's the end of the Expendable show. So when you come on here, start thumbs down at me and disrespecting what we're talking about, better get your facts right, just like every liberal in this world that doesn't read a freaking manuscript to its full comprehension. Anyway, I'm out. It's the Expendable show.
Like me, love me, hate me. I don't care. I do whatever I want. Says the Expendable Show right there. All right.
Yo.
Thanks for coming on, Shauna. You're awesome, like always, even though you're a liberal. But you're gonna flip to the Trump side. I feel it. Anyway, we're out. Peace.